Hello and welcome back to the Blues Focus channel for another Opposition View video. Today I'm joined by Liberal Tom Fiddler from the Beesotted Podcast. Thank you for joining me, mate.
No, thank you for having me. That's it. Good to see you.
No, good to see you too. I think this is going to be an interesting one. Big game tomorrow now, especially for us since a lot of the teams around us actually won today, which made me feel a bit sick. I won't lie. But yeah, and then obviously I think it's a huge opportunity for you, considering that some of the teams around you have struggled a bit, particularly Swansea. As you know, when they played us, they were dog shit. But here we are. But yeah, no, I'll get straight into it anyway. So first question, what are your thoughts on Brentford's season so far?
I think it's the worst question to ask someone at this time, isn't it? Really, especially when you're talking to a team that seems to be dropping points of fun. No, listen, it's been such a roller coaster. I mean, it's been great fun to be part of. To be honest, we've had some really, really good performances. And you have games where you play against Wickham and you absolutely wipe the floor with them, and then you have other weeks where we just haven't turned up and haven't been there. But I think it's I think you summed it up pretty well there. Like you were saying, you were struggling with the fact that teams around you were winning, and then the pressure's on you. We've had it the other way where other teams around us now have set us up for the potential of keeping up there, and we've not had a great run of form, and yet we're still in third. It's one of those weird seasons. I think the Championship is frankly just unpredictable. I mean, I bet you're going to ask me where I'm going to finish at the end of it, and frankly, I wouldn't want to get to this point. So, at this point, we might end up getting relegated. Who knows? It's one of those.
Literally, this league is so crazy that you just can't predict what's going to happen anymore. I mean, like, you can cast it back to last day of the season, last season, when promotion was literally in your own hands, and all you had to do was beat Barnsley, who had had a drab season. But obviously they needed it to stay up. And how did that feel? I definitely have to ask that question.
Yeah, it was like coming up against prime Mourinho part of the bus material. It was. I mean, they were pressing us really fast that game, and they were really, really good. To be fair, I actually thought, despite what their season had been like, they were class that day. And it was just frustrating watching them play probably, some of the best football they played all season, and then being able to completely shut us out, just couldn't get in behind. And I remember thinking to myself, the writing was on the wall. But we'd seen it a couple of games beforehand. We'd had a couple of rocky games just before that as well. I think particularly the one I think there was a game against Stoke that wasn't long before that. And once that game had kind of gone against us, you kind of went, all right, here we go. And and then maybe I always get myself confused. I can't remember if this would be the 13th playoff that we potentially might not succeed in, or the 12th playoff that we've never succeeded in. But we've never won a playoff, so
Jesus,
really sets us up well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say that must be a real confidence booster going into probably the playoffs. Considering Watford and Norwich are sort of running away with it a bit now.
Well, yeah, you say that, but I mean, actually, funny, it's again, this is the kind of weirdness. I mean, you look at the table now, I think there's a 10-point gap, but we've got 2 games in hand in them. Win those 2 games, and then suddenly you're 4 points behind. Suddenly everyone's going, oh, heck, it's a 3-horse race.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, frankly, at this point, I'm quite happy that we are, well behind. No one's putting any pressure on us, because that seems to be when we perform best. But no, it's I don't think it's quite dead yet. But we do need other teams to keep doing us favours.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I think back to last season. Like, you talk about those games where you dominate and you should win. First game of last season, let's be honest, we had one shot all game and we managed to win 1-0 with a header from outside the box. That was one of my favourite away days ever, because it just made no fucking sense.
Oh, mate. Well, listen, we love a good XG, and that game, I remember looking at it and genuinely just, I always felt like crouching down like Bielsa and just kind of sitting there thinking for a minute, going, I don't know how this has happened. And it was, it was unbelievable. But I mean, but then again, that was kind of systematic of the way you'd kind of been a little bit at that time. Yeah. It felt like a little bit like you've kind of struggled to shake that away this season as well, really.
Literally, like, I don't know. I feel like the wins we do get tend to be those sort of 1-0 shithouse wins. But that's always been Blues, to be honest. We've never been a pretty side. We never will be. It just doesn't work. We've brought in managers where we've tried to bring in sort of pretty football, but it just never works. It never works, never will work. We're just too unfashionable. I think a lot of the time. We're definitely one of those sort of more just battling clubs. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can describe Brentford football, because we've been on such a roller coaster. When I think 10 years ago, we were standing outside shaking buckets to kind of keep them going, and now we're kind of playing around like we're playing prime Barcelona sometimes. It's been radical, but yeah, it's been a learning curve, and to be honest, I'm playing pessimistic. The season hasn't been as dire as I've made it out to be. We are third in the table. We've played some really good games. It's just been it's just trying to keep on top of it, I mean, especially when you're not having usual social interaction, not being able to watch you down the pub, you can't help but think to yourself whether or not it's me that's the lunatic that's kind of sitting here going stir crazy, or whether or not it is everyone else who's feeling the same frustration with it.
No, I feel exactly the same, mate. I can't stand having to watch it from my living room all the time. Like, it just doesn't feel the same. I'd either rather be in the stands or in a pub. But unfortunately, this is just where we're at the moment. Hopefully that changes very, very, very soon. I mean, if you are in the playoffs, you might actually get to see your team live. If you're lucky enough. I imagine it will probably be tough pickings to try and get a ticket, considering how long it's been, but you never know.
That's it. To be honest, I don't care. I mean, even if it's just watching it down the pub at the Globe, with the rest of the gang,
it's
that would quite happily do me. That's it. I'll take that at this point. It is one of those, and it's just anything you can get.
Precisely, mate. Precisely. Do you know what? Quickly before we move on to the kind of the usual questions, I have to ask you about your new stadium. Do you prefer it, or obviously not been there yet? You've kind of seen it on television.
No, I've been there.
Have you actually?
That's it. Yeah, we had 2 games in which we could go.
I forgot that people had fans at one point.
Oh, that's it. Yes, honestly, you're not going to get that excited. I mean, that was it. We had one game where we did all right, and then I was there for a game against Derby. I think it was like maybe the second or third game that Wayne Rooney wasn't even playing, so he was managing. And you thought, right, well, that's one thing down, but it's okay. They're not playing particularly well. We'll do all right. The most drab 0-0 game you've ever seen. I think that if there was a shot on target, I might have missed it. It was the most boring game. But actually, the ground itself was amazing. I mean, it's such a step. New Griffin Park, as we kind of call it, is completely different. They are 2 different beasts, but you can't replace something like Griffin Park in the same way. But what we've produced is a stadium it looks amazing. I just don't think I'm quite used to it yet. I'm not ready for the fact that I can actually hear what the when Peter Gillam's kind of talking over the tannoy, I can hear what he says. We haven't been able to do that for the last since 1896 or whatever. So it's one of those that. Yeah, it's surreal, but it's a cracking stadium, really, and it'd be great for an away day, I reckon, as well.
Yeah, it does. It does look nice. I think the only thing I was a bit meh on was the random kind of seat colours here and there.
Oh, yeah, there we go. That's
the
old Lego stadium.
Yeah, I was going to say when people call it the Lego house.
No, do you know what though? Obviously, I was there, and there was 2,500 of us or something in the stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, it was quite nice because it did make it feel and look busier. I'm hoping we never have to worry about that. When it's full of Brentford fans, we won't need to worry about it then, and that's the way I look at it.
Precisely.
But, that's we'll go with a positive rather than whether or not it don't look great. But
exactly, it could be worse. It could be worse.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, honestly, they're still nicer to sit in than they were when you were sat at Griffin Park. So, I don't care if one of them's accidentally green or yellow every now and then. I'll cope with that.
100%. Yeah. No, I look forward to hopefully going there one day. Should be an exciting way. I think that was my only reason of why I didn't want you to go up last season, just so I could go to the new stadium. So yeah, it's definitely an exciting one, and it doesn't look bad. Doesn't look too bad. But yeah, so I suppose moving on, who should we look out for on the pitch tomorrow?
Well, I mean, do you want me to say the obvious one?
There's an elephant in the room.
Who there might be.
Is it Tony Ivan?
I don't know. Never heard of him. Yeah, occasionally that guy turns up and does a bit, doesn't he? Yeah, I suppose he'll do. No, I mean, listen, he is like playing with a defender and a striker at the same time. From defending corners, he is everywhere, sticking his body around. His hold-up play is brilliant. He's able to burst in. He's got a cracking strike on him. It's the centre forward that I've never known us ever have before, really. I mean, Ollie Watkins was a class above as well, but a different style player. So, you've got now 2 very different kind of players. And, He's excellent. I mean, if he hasn't really been getting the service last couple of games, kind of been snatching at a few little efforts. But hopefully, if we give him the service tomorrow, he'll be back to usual. But we've got, to be honest, I just don't know what Brentford team's going to turn up tomorrow. It depends on what kind of mood we're in, really. I mean, it might be, if it's sunny outside, that might help. I don't know at this point. I haven't worked out what when we do and when we don't. But I think also as well, Marcondes, like in the last game, came on as a sub, looked really dangerous as well. So we'll see. And also, we don't know. There's a bit of rotation with our front forwards alongside it. You've got Canos, Fosu and Mbumo there. Mbumo's hit and miss all season, which is a bit of a shame. But Fosu, if he's in the starting lineup, he could be a real handful. And you might want to keep an eye on him as well, especially up against the almighty Harley Dean, the rock at the back.
To be fair, at the moment he's actually on great form. I think the last two games we've had at home, he's got man of the match. Our last away game was against Watford and we got battered, but in fairness we still had a good performance. It was one of those defeats that didn't feel so bad because you're playing second place Watford, but you actually gave it a go. So no, Harley Dean's in form at the moment, but it wouldn't surprise me if the form just magically disappeared for the Brentford game.
Listen, to be honest, it's funny. It's Maxime Collan. We kind of, that's okay. He's all right. He wasn't too bad. Even John Terrell, we had him on loan as well for a little while. If he has a good game, that's absolutely fine. It's just something about Harley Dean that I just think none of us can ever let him have a good game against us. You know what I mean?
I was going to say everyone seems to pick at him.
Yeah, that's it. I think. I don't know. Listen, he's gone on and he's done all right for himself, and he's established himself as kind of club captain and whatnot. Fair play to him. But I don't think we were talking actually just before about where pictures of people will be put up on the stadium. I don't think you'll see any pictures of Harley Dean anywhere near New Griffin Park. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I don't know what I can understand he was there for a long time, and obviously leaving is never great. Was he your club captain at the time?
No, he kind of every now and then he kind of would take the captain's armband, but he was there under the kind of rotation policy where we didn't really have a captain, and they kind of just gave it to everyone every now and then. So yeah, he was kind of establishing himself, but I think he always plays with an arrogance. You know what I mean? He's kind of got an arrogance of a player who is world class, and in the nicest way possible. He's not a world class player. He's a good player, but not perhaps as good as his swagger might make him appear at times.
I was going to say, when he darts forward thinking he's Ronaldo, it really, really pisses me off. Like, he always loses the ball. It's one of his most annoying traits he has. But occasionally he does pull off a worldy pass from one of his weird bombing forward runs.
That's it. I did see an interview with him though, where he sounded like he was kind of getting it a little bit, and you could tell that he was really buying into it. And, I think if he's giving you 100% commitment, that's all you can ask for in a player, isn't it, really? Whether or not they are, prime Maradona or whether or not they're, prime Barrow or something, you know what I mean? It doesn't really matter. As long as he's giving a bit and doing his bit, then hopefully, it's contributing.
100%. I'm assuming you saw his celebration when we got rid of Karanka. You're just imitating crazy. That's one of the few moments where I've loved Harley Dean, just because it just made me laugh. Like, I think it showed clearly how the dressing room felt. He said since then it was just a joke, and that there was no kind of intent behind it. But I don't know, stinks a bit for me. So yeah, no, is what it is, and he's come under a lot of stick since being at Blues, particularly last season when he scored against West Brom. We still went on to lose the fucking game, but we went 2-1 up, and he comes across the Tilton end and he's shouting, "Yeah, F off you, Tilton," and I don't know. I think he lost a lot of respect with Blues fans when he had a few words to say in his celebration. But since then, especially recently, he's certainly repaired the relationship with a few half decent performances. So another one tomorrow would be ideal, personally. But I suppose kind of coming on to, I suppose, former players, whatnot, memories and stuff. What is your favourite memory of playing Birmingham? And I feel like we both know what you're going to say.
I wouldn't want to mention a certain game in Feb 2018. Yeah, I did have to search the date of a certain 5-0 drubbing after you decided you wanted to buy up every player in the reserve team and all the coaching. I mean, I don't think there was much left. I mean, I'm surprised you didn't go in for Griffin Park at the time. To be honest, it was one of
by
those,
the old club.
That was. I mean, can you when you look back at that time now and you think about all those transfers, can you understand it at all?
Nope, not one bit whatsoever. I mean, it was under Harry Redknapp, and Harry Redknapp has since come out and said, "Oh, they weren't my players. I didn't ask to sign them. The board went in for them." And you know what? Hotter at the time, I completely understood because he was banging form, but it just didn't work out at all. He was definitely the most disappointing of the three. But I think that was just down to expectation. Maxime Collin has probably been the most successful of the three. Problem is he just struggles against pacey teams. Like he does tend to lose pace battles a bit, but overall he's a good technical defender. And then Harley Dean just turns up when he fucking wants to turn up. To be honest, if he decides he wants a good game, he'll have a good game. If he doesn't want a good game because he doesn't like what's occurring, then he'll sit and sulk about it.
Well, that's it. I mean, I think on that day, that might have been one of those occasions where he was sulking because I think it was, it was 5-0 in the end. I think that one. But do you know, listen, I could go on and give people a hard time. Actually, one of my favourites was another one that I enjoyed was actually one where we ended up losing. It was on penalties. I think it was Carling Cup.
Yeah.
Was it 2008, 2010?
It was the year we won it. It was 2010.
Yeah, that was it. And mate, going to Birmingham penalties and whatnot, it was just class. I didn't care. We were
Premier League at the time, so it was
exactly. We had nothing to lose. I'd gone up there with my uncle and my brother. It was just class. Just being in St Andrews, just soaking it all up, watching Kevin Phillips, and is it Djukovic as well up front? And
it was actually Zigic at the time.
That was it. That was it. I knew it was a big, tall striker with. That was it. He was renowned for heading it
with an itch in the name.
Yeah, exactly. And that makes it sound far more racist than I meant it to. But I knew it was an icon of the game. You know what I mean? And it's just a cracking day as well. I enjoyed that one, even though we lost. And but then again, that sums up Brentford. Some of our best performances, as I told you, are games where we end up losing. So
yeah, no, I can relate, mate. It's fine. I mean, I remember Graben played in that game, and funnily enough, I don't know how I remember this, but in the previous round, you'd beaten Everton, who were also obviously big Premier League side at the time. So to beat Everton, I think it was at Griffin Park. Before that was huge, and then there was a lot of pressure on Blues. It was like, will it be another shock kind of cup exit? But obviously, we managed to get the job done on penalties, despite us being the first one that actually missed a penalty in the shootout. But yeah, no, I don't know how I managed to recall that shit, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it was it. I think that was it. It was just one of those days where we were a proper minnow kind of team at the time. No one expected us to do anything, and we'd been on such a good run. It'd been so much fun watching the cup, and that was it. So even when I left, I was kind of like, guess what? Wasn't that fun anyway.
Yeah. Good experience, definitely. Yeah. I remember Brentford kind of coming to, or at least on the rise in sort of 2013-14, when it was a bit of a battle between you and Leyton Orient for that second spot, while Wolves were kind of just destroying the league, really.
That was it. We had what was known as the Slade Cup because Russell Slade, who was manager at Orient at the time, used to absolutely blew in love giving it some, and so that was it. Every time he won, that was it. We'd be celebrating with the Slade Cup. That was it, because he was just he just felt quite arrogant. And for some reason, we just take, I think it was because it made a bit of fun of rivalry. I mean, there's not really much reason for us to fall out with Leyton Orient, but there was enough on that occasion. I quite enjoyed that, and and then I don't know if it was that season or the season afterwards where Marcello Trotta scored a screamer against him as well. But he scored a goal. Marcello Trotta was notorious because he was the guy who missed the penalty that they went down. Doncaster went down the other end and scored straight from. But that was one occasion where he was a bit of a cult hero. Was scoring, I think, in that game as well.
I remember that Doncaster game. It was Coppinger who scored at the death.
To be honest, I blocked out what the hell happened. I remember being there and I know what happened. I couldn't even remember who it was that did it against us at the end. I just remember just at the time just thinking to myself, what have we done?
I think I do like watching that one, but in fairness, Doncaster, we kind of got our own back a bit on Doncaster for you the season after when they got relegated, and we stayed up. Paul Caddis last minute. I love rewatching the Football League show from that day, because when it pans over to the Doncaster fans when they find out we've scored at the death, they're literally tears everywhere. They're just having a proper paddy, kicking everything. And then obviously you come up during that season. Then I think you actually, in your first season, you finished fifth. You had that mad playoff season out of fucking nothing under Warburton. So, I mean, how you manage that, I don't know, but fair play.
Yeah. I honestly, this a Brentford fan at the moment is that it's just so unpredictable, but it always has been. When we look at the players, I mean, funny enough, even when I look back at the squad that we had then, when we played you in 2018, I mean, when I look at those players now, you'd go, who were they at the time? But we had, Daniel Bentley still doing all right, still doing bits. You've got Johan Barbe, Josh McEachran, who just come from Chelsea. He hadn't long
He's
been
just
there.
left us.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's it. Romain Sawyers. We had Neil Morpie, Ollie Watkins. We've had some big names, and that's it. And sometimes when they turn up and they do wonders, it's great. And then you just know that, unfortunately, if you don't quite reach the level they need to be, then they're not there again. But you've got to savor the moments whilst they last with them.
Exactly. And obviously you managed to bribe Aston Villa into buying Scott Hogan for an obscene amount of money. And here he is at the mighty Birmingham City, and who knows if he'll bag tomorrow.
God, don't even. Well, he scored the other day, didn't he? So
yeah,
he's
penalty against Swansea.
That's it. He's listen. Again, we talk about XGs. He's one of those you could create 1,000,001 chances, and you'd still never be sure he'd finish any of them. But when he does, it does. It does make a massive difference, doesn't it?
100%. Yeah, no, I remember him in his prime Brentford days. I think he bagged like 20 goals in one season for you once. That was probably his only good season. Bar maybe his time at Rochdale, but even then.
We picked him up injured. That was it. We really didn't quite know what we'd got into. And then, when someone offered, I think, that money for him, because it was mad money that they signed him for. I remember thinking to myself, okay, sure. Yeah. Okay.
What a shame. Like 12 million, something like that.
Yeah, that was it. It was definitely, it might have even been 15, I think, if add-ons had come in, but I don't ever know if we ever saw those in the end. I don't think his performance has quite lived up to that somehow, but no. Glad he's good doing something. Again, he was never one of those that did us any harm, so I'm glad that he's found him.
100%. Yeah, no, he's a massive confidence player, and I think his confidence will be all right at the moment. So we'll see how he plays tomorrow. So I suppose kind of moving on to the toughest question of the lot, and I think the one that you dread probably the most is, where do you think you're going to finish this season?
Funny enough, we did on the Beesotted kind of team. We did like a little survey to kind of work out what we thought we'd get from each game and what points we thought we'd end up with at the end of it. And I think I had us on somewhere like, I think I had maybe 85, 86 points. I had us on at the end of the season, and slowly but surely that's looked a long way away. But no, I think second place is up for grabs. It does take Watford to have a few rocky games, but you don't know. I think it depends on how we do with our games in hand. If we win those, we're right back up in there, and you never know what could happen. I think there'd be questions if we dropped anywhere below fifth. Can I leave it at that?
If you really want to, I understand.
Yeah, I just don't know. And funny enough, I won't say. Well, I know exactly what I put for what I thought we'd do against Birmingham. I probably won't want that to be the case now. But I said if there was a game where I thought we'd struggle, it would be against you guys. And I don't know why. I think I just had it in my mind that you guys could be another bogey team after other performances. And I thought, here we go again. So, do you feel optimistic? I guess is the question.
I actually do. Yeah. I don't know why. We just seem to do quite well. Brentford away, it just seems to be one of those that's okay. Bar, you take away that one absolute bashing the record is actually decent. I remember you go all the way back to like 14, 15, even 15, 16. I think we won 1-0 both games, and it was Clayton Donaldson bagging in both of them. So another ex-striker of yours that we just take. So clearly we just want to be Brentford. That is what we try to build our team around, evidently.
So yeah, everyone wants to be the bus stop in Hounslow, as we were affectionately known as well. That was it. We we're reduced down to a bus stop is what they decided to go for, and frankly, that's not exactly worked out well for QPR in their season so far. So
no, it's definitely not. I feel optimistic. I take a 1-1 draw, but after today's results, I really, really want a win. And the way we're playing at the moment, if we play the way we played against Swansea, then I could see us getting at least a point. I think it more depends on how you turn up, actually, than it does for us, because I do think we'll definitely come out to match you. And that's how we like to play teams. We like to match and then kind of overpower and just get in your face a bit and make it unexpected. So it really just depends if you turn up as, Brentford, Barcelona, or more like Brentford, Yeovil, or
yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean, the truth is, Thomas Frank summed it up quite well after our last game. If you look at where we're playing games and how we're playing, you'd think everything was going absolutely right. What we're becoming notorious of doing, though, is giving away something stupid that gives a goal. The same thing happened again at the weekend. Their goal came from just nothing. We were just playing around with it in a stupid place, cut a silly, lack of communication, and it gave them the ball and they had a great shot, But we've done that a lot this season, and I think particularly if you come at us, which you alluded to, and I kind of had in the back of my mind for some reason you do, particularly when Karanka had gone. That I thought maybe, I thought maybe. So to be honest, I think I'd put down a loss at the time, but I reckon we'll want a response, and I reckon we'll get a response. So I'm feeling a little bit more confident about tomorrow than I was, just because I think if they don't, then there'll be some stern words in the dressing room.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I think on paper, this is a game you should win if you look at the table. But right now, Lee Bowyer's first 3 games are against top 6 sides, all 3 of them. And his fourth game is about to be against another top 6 side. I don't think you could have asked for a tougher run in, and to get 6 from 9 so far is crazy. And in fairness, we really did play well against Watford. We were just genuinely unlucky, and they had more quality than we did, and that's expected because of where they are. So it really, really does depend if Brentford are on their A game and whether that response is there. But I don't think it'll be an easy game for you. But it wouldn't surprise me if you nicked a 2-1. But so long as we give what we can, then I'd be happy, certainly. But I think I'm feeling a 1-1 or a 2-2 right now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think do you know what? You're probably not wrong. I mean, I could see us winning. I personally could end up seeing tomorrow being a 3-1 game in the end, just where suddenly everyone turns up. But I could also see us getting hammered 2-0 because, we couldn't hit a barn door kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's one of those. But I feel a little bit more on the optimistic side that I'd probably say I reckon we've got 3 goals in us tomorrow. I think we want to score. I think we'll be creating chances. And I think that will be the case. And then I reckon we'll end up gifting you a goal because that's what we like doing to teams this season, apparently.
Well, anything to help the goal difference, appreciate it. No, I think it definitely, if you turn up, then 100%. I don't expect us to get much. It really, like I said, just depends how you turn up more or so, really. And Joe, I was just looking at your fixtures a minute ago. How massive is that Watford home game, second to last game of the season?
Well, yeah. I mean,
you win your games in hand. That's huge.
You couldn't have predicted it, could you? I mean, it's kind of destiny. I mean, let's be fair. Let's hope it's in our hands by that time, anyway. You know what I mean? That's the point. So, I think that feels a long way away yet. We might not even be worried about that game by that point because our fate might have already been sealed by what's gone on. But I mean, I really hope that we've got ourselves in a competitive position, but also a little bit of me doesn't, because you think, how good would it be to be there at that day if you're proper about competing and trying to see who's gonna nick it on the day to potentially steal that kind of second spot. You think, oh, how good would it have been to have been there?
But, the atmosphere would be crazy, really, wouldn't it? That would be the perfect game to return to the new stadium for.
I'm already, I can already feel the juices flowing. I feel like a beer is kind of just encroaching, coming towards me,
Yeah, definitely. Kind of goosebumps without it even happening yet. So, it's one of those. I suppose kind of, obviously you've touched on us a little bit, but what are your thoughts so far in our season? Obviously we played your first game of the season and we won that 1-0, but in fairness, we didn't, other than that corner, we didn't really do much. It was sort of same old story as the season before. We play your first game of the season, have one shot, win the game 1-0. That seems to be a common game against you.
That's it. But I mean, you'll know better than I will. But in many ways, my season has still been represented by that kind of some real smash and grab kind of performances. And I think where you've been quite fluid as a team and as a body, that's been quite interesting. I think also as well, it's so difficult to judge the season when a lot of it's been under Karanka, that kind of, because what he was doing and I think where your club was going didn't represent what you were about anyway, was it really?
No.
100%. And so exactly. So, difficult to say. When I've seen what I've seen so far, the Bowyer era, there's clearly some quality there. There's clearly some trouble. I reckon, if you put, especially at the minute, without Rico Henry, we are suffering, and I think that's no real trade secret, and particularly if Dalsgaard's not going to be playing as well, that's two inexperienced fullbacks that you could be coming up against. And I think, from memory as well, if you get a bit of space out wide, I mean, don't
our wingers are our strongest, probably exactly. Our strongest area of the pitch.
Yeah, you're not going to be whipping the ball into Hogan and expecting him to header them in or anything like that. But you can see them cutting
then maybe.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. So we'll see. I reckon. It just depends. But then again, Mads Bech Sorensen, he scored 3 goals. I think he scored 2 when he was away in international.
Yeah.
He's banging form, and Roslev's now had 90 minutes of playing the season in it, so maybe he'll be on form as well. They might match each other, but we'll see. But I think it's just difficult to say these days. I think it's still very early, but the warning signs are there for us that we've got to be alert, we've got to be aware, because there is quality there. I think it just depends on, same as you feel for us. We don't know what Birmingham team's going to turn up tomorrow. We might as well have switched places. You were wearing my shirt and I was wearing yours or whatever. We would have been saying exactly the same thing, because it is just one of those seasons where you just don't quite know what performance you're going to get.
Precisely. I do think this is probably one of the hardest fixtures to predict for us personally, because it really could go either way. So that kind of does bring me on to the final quick question of, you got to lock it in now. What is your score prediction for tomorrow?
Yeah, I've been weighing it up. I'm gonna be optimistic, and then you're gonna turn around and rub it in my face tomorrow. I'm sure. That's it. I'll go 3-1. I'll go 3-1 to the Bees. I reckon Ivan Toney's got a couple in him tomorrow, and I can see one of the wingers then sneaking in an extra goal as well. But we'll give you something. What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. We do actually tend to struggle against whoever's top scorer in the league at the time. We are one of those teams where they decide to knock 3 in. So it's one of them. It always seems to happen. Like, we'll be like, oh no, I hope they don't have a good game today, because we'll dread playing the top scorer in the league, and then they always smack loads past us. In fairness, I remember at the start of the season, Ivan Toney struggled to bag for the first 3 or 4 games. Then since then, as soon as he got one, here come the rest.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I don't care. But again, like, you could watch him and you could see how class he was, and you could just tell that he just didn't get the break. And as soon as he got it, But then also the other thing that other teams do sometimes is that teams then think, oh, we've got to close him down. But there's so many goals that come from across the pitch. It don't quite work out that well, So, so if you want to stick every man on him and then free up our wingers instead, you never know. That might work for us.
It just depends whether Mbuemo turns up tomorrow, to be honest. Because, I mean, obviously last season he'd have performances where he was crazy, and then next minute he wasn't so much. how has losing Side Ben Rama really impacted that squad? Because it does look like a tough loss.
It's one of those. I mean, the problem with him compared to losing someone like Ollie Watkins is that you had Ollie Watkins who would always consistently give you like a 7, 8 out of 10 at least effort,
Yeah,
but that you from Ben Rama you'd get a 9, 10 out of 10 kind of game, and then other games you get him at 4 or 5 and you just wouldn't even know he was there. But we could do with a bit of that flair now. We need an extra option out wide. I think because Mbumo's really been struggling to fire. Canos has always been a bit erratic. You didn't quite know what you're getting from him. And Fosu, for some reason, there doesn't quite seem to be the trust there in the setup with him. That it's just been, it's. I think if we had Ben Rama, he'd be playing a lot. He'd be creating chances, and he'd be causing chaos. And I think it just makes you a bit more unpredictable because you're thinking, oh, heck, I've got 2 players. I've got to properly close out the game here. Not just one. So I think that's what we missed. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's nice, when you've got a tricky skiller in your team, it's always nice, but yeah, frankly, instead now we have to deal with Norgard and Janelt with Steele in midfield. So
100%. Yeah, no, obviously he's not really had much chance at West Ham, in fairness to him. But when he has played, he's been all right.
He's a good player. He's tricky, and he's one of those. He's a luxury player, though. That's the one thing about him.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. He's just one of them that will give you a 10 out of 10 or, like you say, 4 out of 5. I remember when we played you last season at St Andrews, we contained him quite well. He just couldn't do much. Probably one of Maxime Collins' best games ever. So who knows? But my final score prediction anyway, I am going to say 2-2. I think, in fairness, I actually wrote in the column I did for your Brentford program, I actually put 2-1 because I was feeling more optimistic then than I am now. But I don't know. I think I still got that optimism that we might grab something, but I'd definitely take a draw away at Brentford because, it's another top 6 side. But I'd say a draw is still optimistic on our behalf. So, yeah, no, certainly I'd take that. But that's everything really, mate. So thank you for joining us. It's been fantastic having you on.
No, thank you very much for having me. It's been good crack, and yeah, as I say, I mean, I did originally put down Birmingham for us as losing this game. So frankly, anything is possible. So don't lose all hope just yet. That's it. And I think we'll be in for a good game tomorrow. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. It'll definitely be a cracking game. Yeah, no, guys. Obviously, I'll leave all your links below, so you can go check out the Beesotted Podcast, and obviously you can go look at their social pages. They've got plenty of followers. They're quite big, especially for Brentford fans. And I'm sure if you're a Brentford fan, you'll already know about them. Let's be honest. So no, it's been a pleasure having you on. So thank you very much, and thank you for anyone who's tuned in. And if you're feeling extra nice, please do check out that Patreon link down below. And you'll get early access to stuff like this. So yeah, definitely go check it out. But that's it from us, guys. So keep right on, and we'll see you in the next one.